Yeah. Well, I
And we could all do a ghost thing though, and that would drive views.
yeah.
It's interesting.
Well, I
that,
think
you
it will
know,
add
when
just
we
another
sort of-
dimension to what I created, and I will really like you guys on top of it.
Well, I mean, we're not going to get on top of anything.
Well, we're not going to get in
No.
the bottom. That's for damn
Well,
sure.
that's true.
I don't mean immediately, but for those for the people that want to do it, I mean, just the different angles of knowledge. You got the guy with the public interest and consumer based knowledge, and we got Roger, right? He's got his intuitive knowledge of how people react to things, and then we got we got Otto. He knows a couple things.
And then there's Otto.
Well, see,
The more about him, the better.
let me clear something up there, though. Like, when I talk to you about stuff like the Axis Monday and things like that, we're talking about, like, coherence. This is actual philosophical freaking beliefs. This is what freaking intellects are talking about in universities, okay? So when you're talking about stuff like that, you're talking about reconciliation, you're talking about dualities, emergent flows, and triality, and all of that stuff put together, you know what I mean? You don't look at it as a symbolical concept, you look at it as a structural, you know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah.
Because coherence, I can tell you the most, and I've been wanting to do this with you guys, but you want me to show you the greatest. I can do a scientific experiment with you right now and prove to you what the most mysterious thing in the universe is. You want to do it?
Maybe.
It's really simple. You want to?
I've had enough of women for
No. This will take.
You do it, V. You do it, V.
all three of you. I can do it to all three of you right now, and you guys will freaking discover what the most mysterious thing in the cosmos is at this moment. You want to do it?
I guess we have to.
Part of me's turned on.
No.
Turned off.
Now,
I know Mark's up
Is
for it.
curious.
hold up.
Part of me has my nose turned up.
Once I'm done talking, okay? Once I'm done talking, I want you guys to go silent. And when you go silent, what I want you to do is I want you to tell yourself, say hello to yourself. Say hello, Mark. Hello, B. Hello, Otto. And do it without opening your mouth. Do it to yourself. And then when you're done and you've done that, tell me, and I'll prove my theory.
Okay.
Okay,
All right.
I'm game.
You just did something that no scientist on the face of this planet can explain. You just did the most mysterious thing that cannot be explained. It can't be theorized. They don't even know how you are personally capable of doing what you just did. Isn't that amazing?
Pretty amazing. Metacognition.
What you just
We
did.
can talk to ourselves. Yes, we are recursive creatures. Yeah, we have introspective consciousness. Right? I call it ruminative because we always think about what we've done and talk to ourselves and say, why the hell did you do that? I don't know. Well, figure it out better next time.
Nobody can explain that, though. Nobody knows how you and me and B and Mark are capable of doing what you just did.
Well, in Buddhism, they say, you're not your emotions. If you feel fear or you feel anger, that's obviously not you, right? Or you couldn't observe it.
Mm-hmm.
And eventually, with these teachings, someone says, well, who's me? And the reply is, don't worry about that. we don't go there. The Buddha actually refused to answer a lot of questions. He would just put them aside. He wouldn't say yes or no. Is the universe infinite or finite? Like, I don't talk about that. That's not that's not part of my teachings. It's like, well, what is the soul eternal? I don't talk about that. We're talking about suffering and how to end it in the mind. So he says, when you end suffering, well, who's the me that's ending suffering? Don't worry about that. You just end the suffering kind of deal.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, even the Buddha doesn't explain that.
Well, I mean, it's like when it comes to coherence, though, it's filtered. It's not destroyed. You know what I mean? You have like pattern recognition. You've got attention, and then, like you said, recursive awareness is what I refer to it as. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
I mean,
Hey, do you believe in magic?
Well, you could argue it's all a trick of language, you know. We believe we're nouns. We use a noun for ourselves, so we need to become verbs. We need to become verbs. I think I am a verb. I'm a process. I'm doing.
Speaking of the process, how many times have I bombed tonight?
how many times have you sat in a room and freaking like farted on yourself and just smelled it? You know what I'm saying? It's like, and you don't want to.
Anytime you farted, you would probably smell it.
That's my whole point. It's like, and you don't want people to know that you just farted, so you keep quiet and you just put up with it. You know what I mean?
Oh, so I just let everybody know I farted.
That's amateur, Raj. What you do is you turn to your friend and say, "What the hell did you just let off?"
Yeah.
I'm sorry for that, man.
Yeah.
What evils have you released upon this world?
Yeah, there you go.
That is presuming that your farts don't smell of roses and tulips.
That's right. That's
We're
where
not
the magic.
all English. We're not all English here. Come on. Don't tease us.
He lives in a holographic world.
That's one actually.
Yeah, he's living a simulation for sure.
Oh
Wow.
my goodness.
So I mean that's really what I get into whenever I start talking about this stuff. Like when it comes to coherence, like I hear everybody always talking about consciousness and being sentient and everything. Well, what about just being coherent? You know what I mean?
So that's a tough one. I've been working on that for 60 years. I'd like to be coherent one of these days.
Yeah, I don't know, and why do we have to have an answer for that? Do you think knowing the answer to that wouldn't just be a possibility? It would just unmake our ability to do it.
No, I think it's just an amazing discovery is what it is, because like we're built to try to discover new things and to
I understand that, but if we unlock the put that key into the keyhole in the center of ourselves, what's going to happen after that?
I don't know if that's something we can do at this level. You can't wash. What is it? You can't see your own eye. You can only see a reflection of your eye in the mirror.
Right.
You can't wash water. You can't clean soap. But at another level, and I don't think it's accessible to us in this state of consciousness. But I think you can get beyond it. At least so it has been said by people who've been there. I haven't personally, or if I have, I've only kind of tasted it a little bit. But I think that there are things that right now it's just we can think about them and wonder about them, but I think as we develop, we're going to have a better vocabulary and a better way to look at these things, and maybe then we can do that. But yeah, no, otherwise I see your point entirely, V. It's just, I don't know if it's a key. It's like the key itself, like where's the key? It's like you're looking all over the place for the key.
Well, I mean, we get to that point where we can have our own eyeballs see into itself. What's to make? What will that make?
Well, there may be a chemical key.
Well, I mean, it has a lot to do with the way we're built. I mean, you take a look at it, okay? I mean, we have always been creatures that were into trying to discover new things. We've always been that way, you know what I mean? And you take a look at like mythic systems and stuff like that, you know what I mean? That makes you think of stuff like symbolic evolution, how our symbologies have changed over the freaking time that civilization first started, you know what I mean? And if you look at this stuff, what it is it's like physics isn't like discovering something new. We're just discovering what ancient people of the ancient world freaking intuitively knew. You know what I mean? It's just in a different language.
You can understand things
Tesla.
in different ways.
I think of it like Tesla. Like, what if Tesla decided he had all these great ideas, and no, he's never going to share with anybody. So we wouldn't have had an advance in certain technologies. However, our government, who came and stole his other works later in his life after he died, I wonder to myself, would they have the direct energy weapons now to torture innocent people, or would we have the phones that we have now communicating, doing this show? I mean, there's the ups and downs of these sort of things, right? And being able to have introspective into oneself, to be able to look into oneself with full clarity and honesty, I think would break most people.
It's difficult, certainly. Looking inside is the most difficult thing. We have so many different selves, and so we're really a committee. There's the scared self and the angry self and the hungry self. That one gets me. And there's the self at work and the self at play. And there has to be the one who's looking at all the other selves. Has to be the one sitting in charge, so that no matter how angry or happy or up or down or sideways, whatever, that's not what's in charge. You're in charge. Don't worry about who you are. You know who you are. And you want to be the one sitting in that chair right now in the present moment, which is the only time your mind really has any power. Because otherwise you're off in Never Land, man. You're just taking on an identity in this little world of if I were king, oh yes sirree Bob, we're gonna outlaw war first thing. See, problem solved. Yeah, stuff like that. It's fun to live in these little fantasy worlds, because we don't have to pay attention to what we're doing, and nobody really wants to pay attention to what they're doing.
Right.
Mostly because we're not used to it. But we have to look within, and it's scary.
It's that protective bubble that frickin' V and Nancy were talking about the other day whenever I lost the video footage. It's like, and I think people intentionally create this bubble around them where they want to protect themselves from the outside world with self-denial. It's like, I don't want to believe that, because believing that is harder than frickin' accepting the lie.
Right.
Yeah.
I've heard people say that,
So, I believe that 100%. That, I don't know, with what you just said, that just kind of rung out to me.
To deny thyself is also a path to enlightenment, depending on who you ask.
To a point.
Stargate.
To a point.
Stargate Atlantis. No, it's Stargate SG-1, actually, was where when you wanted to ascend, you had to naturally ascend, whereas if you believed in I forgot what their names were again, but but they were the ones that fooled people into believing that they were gods, and they had them blindly worshiping them so that they could drain the energy from them and become stronger off of the freaking worship that they gave them. You know what I mean?
Psychic vampires at work.
Yeah. That was the one thing about Stargate that really stuck out to me the most. And these people all the time would say, "Oh, we aren't into ufology and all that stuff." I'm like, you are so full of it, dude. You are so saturated with ufology. It's pathetic. You know what I mean? But they had these little.
And that's the opposite of Apollonius of Tyana, who you might have heard of. He was a mystic in the Greco-Roman period, the late Empire, and he said, he opposed all animal sacrifices to the gods. On the other hand, overlooking the social utility of feeding the poor people, which is what a lot of the sacrifices were about. It was redistributing the wealth. Mm-hmm. But he argued against blood sacrifice, because he said, well, we're offering these things to the gods, even though the gods got the thigh bones rolled in fat. And he said, well, the gods are the givers of all this stuff. You don't need to give anything to the gods. The gods are the source of all goodness, all wealth, all prosperity, all of your life. So they don't need anything back. It's okay. What they want is thanks. They want incense and flowers and saying, thanks, gods, keep up the good work. We're all happy with what you're doing down here, kind of deal. They don't need any of it back. and which is the opposite of the ones coming in and saying, "We're God, now feed us with your souls."
Yeah, it's from one extreme to the other. Yeah, I like that.
I'll stick with Apollonius of Tyana. He was an interesting guy.
Polonius is like, I mean, just the name alone, you know what I mean? You sit there and you hear that and you're mystified just by the way the name is. So it kind of makes it hard because I know you've done research into this auto, you know, like it's really hard to believe some of the names were actually authentic, you know what I mean? Because like,
I have trouble pronouncing them sometimes though, because I got laughed at because there's a guy that scholar Nagarjuna, who's very famous for the founder of the Madhyamaka school of Buddhism, is very big in Tibet, and he was not a Theravadan, but he's very close to like Theravadan ideas. This was a long time ago. I think it was a Savasarvardhan or something. They're extinct, but anyway. I was talking to my friend Panyabasa. At that time, he was Panyabasa Bhikkhu and, a Pali scholar and very erudite Buddhist. And we were talking, and I'd read this stuff. So I said, and something, and I remember this was an explication of the philosophy of, and I said, Nagarjuna. And he just started laughing. It's Nagarjuna. And I'm like, I never had to say this out loud. There was no one I could ever say this word out loud to before who would even know what it meant. No practice in saying the words, but I like reading them though.
When I hear weird stuff though about this stuff, like when they start talking about how reality is freaking experienced and not just how it evolves, it makes me think, well, who's doing the research on how reality evolves first of all? And then are you trying to tell me that not only are they able to tell you how reality is evolving, but they're also telling you how reality is experienced? You know, that's pretty deep if you stop and think about that. You know what I mean? That really is deep. That means they're taking time and effort to actually do research into this stuff. That's some pretty deep stuff.
All right.
You know, because I mean, I find that's the kind of stuff that sticks out to me when I hear a lot of this and when people start talking about it, you know, because like emergence is one thing that's really fascinating. You can talk about duality all you want all day long till you're blue in the face, and it can go back and forth. But when you start talking about emergence and complexity and how that works into the cosmos, then all of a sudden they start asking you questions like, does the cosmos and the self reflect each other? Are
you wanting more complexity, or are you looking for something more simplistic at the end of the road?
I don't think you have a choice in the matter. I don't believe I have a choice in the matter. No, it doesn't matter.
Complexity is the result of analysis. Human body is actually very simple. It works great. You know, it gets born, it gets sick, it dies. That's what it's supposed to do. It does all this stuff, grow skin. So you're growing hair all day and skin cells, your heart's beating, even when you're not thinking about it, especially when you're not thinking about it. Breathing too. So on that level, it's really a very simple kind of a little squiggly organism. But then we analyze it. We separate the nervous system from the central, the autonomic nervous system. We got the central nervous system. We got the brain stem. You can also look at it as the brain. I mean, if you ever looked at the nervous system, it's like you got the brain and it kind of spreads out everywhere. You can see it's all kind of one thing, and yet it's also inexorably intertwined with your flesh, with your fat, with capillaries, with muscle tissue, bone, this, that. So on one level, that's my thing about, that's 4 elements: earth, air, fire, water. And that's all I need to know to understand the universe on that level. But again, on the other hand, medical science, you want to know how to fix something broken inside. So you isolate it, and suddenly you're studying, well, this is the lymphatic system, and these are the blood vessels, and this and that. And you specialize in, how can I repair this artery, or how can I help this nerve tissue regrow, or whatever like that. So that's a very good side of it. It does make it more complicated, but the complication is the result of our analysis to ultimately simplify it, to ultimately simplify our task. We break things down And that's one of our great abilities as humans. That's one of our intellectual capabilities of breaking these tasks. It's like coding, I guess. I've never coded, but I've watched people code.
Absolutely.
It seems to be breaking things down.
But even breaking things down, you can arrive at, having your own unique perspective. Things are either going to be worth knowing or not worth knowing, bringing you closer to a truth or taking you further away from truth. And so you've got all these ranges where this information can sit and evolve, and your own perspective can adjust or become more acute or obtuse. Who knows? So, but the thing that does drive through all that is your desire for an answer, and typically you have an idea of what that answer is, even though you don't know what it is yet. So, is it going to be something preferable, desired to be something simple, or more complex? Which is what I was asking with the triality. Going along with the subject on that, if you're looking to prove something more simplistic, or are you looking to prove something more complicated?
I can keep it as simple as you want it. Like right here, all I can tell you is 3 things that'll make or answer your question. And it's curved space, structured memory, and field of awareness. Those 3 things is a triality. Okay. Now, granted, structured memory starts out as fractures of little fractured particles of what you've experienced in the day that's in different parts of the brain, and then it's constructed into structured memory. You know what I mean? I do understand that, but it's still structured memory after the process is done. You know what I mean? So
we tell ourselves a story. That's our memory is James pointed that out when you say, do you remember something? Like his example was, do you remember going to the beach? And it's like, yeah. And then you'll think of yourself getting into your car and driving to the beach with your friends, and getting out and setting up your blanket and maybe getting like some snacks or something. That's not what happened. What happened was your senses were bombarded with light and heat. You heard all these sounds were striking you, air rushing against you. You had this innumerable sensations. Your whole sensoria, your whole body was absorbing things. You can't remember all that and have any kind of coherent picture. You have to make a structured image of what went on. Very often you'll even see yourself going into the surf and stuff like that. No, that's not. You experienced wet and stinging in the eyes from the salt and this and that, and seagulls swooping down and stealing your food and running across the beach with a stick trying to get, well, maybe not that, but so yeah, we structure all of our memories into a story we tell ourselves. And but we're I think Julian Jaynes said he defined that the ego as an imaginary eye narratizing to itself in imaginary mind space. We tell a story about ourselves, and the Romantics kind of picked up on that, because the Romantic comes from the roman, the novel. The idea was you were supposed to live your life like a work of art, like a novel, because people could no longer find, I guess, any kind of like comfort in established social or religious norms. So they had to go off and find their own kind of. I think Nietzsche was probably part of that to a certain extent.
I'm a conspiracy theorist when it comes to that too, because I seriously believe that Romanticism, they purposely tried to freaking bury that. After the age of Romanticism died out, that these realists did not want people to really understand what Romanticism was.
Well, I know that all the major Romantics, the ones that survived to middle age, all repudiated their doctrines and their ideas. Yeah. They said, boy, we were stupid. We were just a bunch of teenagers. Don't read any of that crap.
I'm pretty sure I'm in my own self-denial with that. I'm a conspiracy theorist. Some things I can accept and some things I can't. I'm sorry. I mean, you look at it, okay, and it was like there was an obvious struggle going on there between the idealists and the romanticists, or romanticists, however you would say it. But you could clearly see that. You know what I mean? Their ideologies really clashed with one another, and that was the whole reason, I think, for the realist, wasn't it? It was because of the romanticism that was taking place.
Well, I'm not an expert on the era, but I have a really good book. Actually, it's a free book available online, as well as a series of lectures on Buddhist romanticism and basically the influence of the Romantics on later neo-Buddhist thought here in the West. But what's interesting about the lecture is he starts off with basically a rundown. This is by a Buddhist monk, Tanisaru Bhikkhu. Before he became a monk, he was a scholar of European intellectual history. So he gives a really good little rundown on the Romantics and the Romantic movement and this really core of writers, thinkers and artists that were the driving force behind it. And I will send you the link, Raj. Actually, I'll put it in your Teams thing because everybody here has access to that, right?
Yeah.
If anyone wants to look at it, and no pressure, and you may not want to check it out at all, but it's a very interesting little rundown, and it's actually the source of most of my information about the Romantics. Because to tell you the truth, they never overly interested me, as a group. It just was nothing that ever. There's so many things to read about, and I can't read everything. And I just, the Romantics never. I mean, I'm just now understanding that I missed out on like that. There's so many writers. Victor Hugo. I've read very little Victor Hugo, but my friend O.C. Shore, the Aristotle guy,
he did a good.
Did you see?
He did
Did you see
great.
his dramatic thing about the Victor Hugo thing?
I created that punk song off of freaking the stuff he was discussing.
Oh, he is amazing, and his Victor Hugo stuff makes me think I gotta read that guy. That was a cool song, man. That came out.
Yeah, that was inspired because of the stuff he was talking about on that video. Just so you know,
all right, I'll let him know. You should check out. He's on Substack. You should check out his Substack.
You see, people don't know Poe. Like freaking, they think they know Poe. Poe was a go-go kind of guy, like you.
Mike really liked Poe too,
You don't step on Poe's toes.
No.
He was freaking. He would have been the punker. He would have been the punk rocker, dude, if he was born in this era. He would have been 100% punk rock if people would actually read the real stuff. Like the arguments between him and Emerson, those were real, dude. He hated. Yeah.
Poe from Teletubbies.
Edgar Allan Poe.
Yeah, Edgar Allan Poe from Teletubbies.
Okay.
Yes.
Yes. One with a little raven emblem on his gut.
That's who we're talking about.
Oh no, that's Care Bears. Sorry.
Yeah.
Confused. I don't know. I never watched. I did like Smurfs, but that's another story. Smurfs are actually very mystical, especially the first season. There's a lot of really weird things.
There is the cultic stuff in there because of its origin, and they're cultic creatures to begin with. So
I think the guy that writes it, I think probably had he had a classical education or something. But I was like minor Smurf. Remember Miner Smurf? He was a miner.
Mm-hmm.
He dug under the earth, right?
Yep.
Do you know the alchemical formula of vitriol? The Latin for visit the interior of the earth. There thou shalt find by rectification the hidden stone.
Yep.
Right? He's got a candle on his head with a little flame overhead, the way the Holy Spirit is represented in artwork, the Holy Spirit descending upon people. So he's got like the flame overhead.
Yeah.
You had just a lot of very and Smurfette was interesting. Smurfette was actually a homunculus. She was created by Gargamel. There were no female Smurfs. She was a creation of Gargamel. He was called a magician, and he was basically an alchemist.
He was an alchemist.
He wanted the Smurfs to do one of two things: either to use them to convert base metals to gold, or to consume as an elixir of life. Now that's describing the Philosopher's Stone. So the Smurfs were the Philosopher's Stone, or an ingredient, so that if Gargamel could catch them, he could either turn base metals to gold or extend his own life and the life of others. So this is alchemy. And then there's Minor Smurf, and with the little flame on top, and I could go on about it. Azrael,
this guy is a scholar on
that's the Hebrew angel of death.
Lore.
Is Azrael, and that's the name of Gargamel's cat. So it's
Yeah,
like, and they're using the music. They got like Brahms and Beethoven and stuff in the background. You know, I'm like this stoner. You know, wow, man, this is oh my god, this is Asriel, really? No,
Yeah.
like I'm gonna roll up another one. This is oh wow, he wants to convert me. Yeah, it's just
Well, you
all these
know, the scary part about this is the Smurfs didn't come out until the 80s. So that would have placed you right around your early 20s.
probably. I know I'm the oldest guy in the room.
No, I'm just saying.
I used to be the
You,
youngest guy in the room. Now I'm the oldest. Very strange how that works.
this guy's got
The-
Smurf
like-
lore. Come
no,
on.
I'm just saying, dude. 20-something years old, freaking getting high and watching the Smurfs, dude. Freaking, you can't beat that. That's, you know what I mean? That's
How
cool.
old was I then? I was probably 18, 19, 20, something like that. I don't know. It's
Yeah.
all very vague and fuzzy.
Sky high.
Because
I gotta kind of remember the house I was living at and what was I doing that year, and because I remember I spent one year where I didn't have much to do in the winter, and I just basically hung out and always looked forward to Smurfs.
yeah.
Saturday morning they had like a nice 2-hour block of Smurfs, so it gave me something to concentrate on when I was waking up. So it rubs off.
I used to love the Smurfs back when I was younger too, and
Well, now I'm gonna go back. I'm gonna rewatch the whole freaking thing because
The first season is the most interesting. The later seasons got kind of silly, and they had Baby Smurf and Grandpa Smurf and all that. That really wasn't. But the earliest Smurfs, especially like the first couple seasons, especially,
Mhm.
there's some interesting little
I'm
bits.
all about that esoteric stuff right there. So
And it's to be
quite
found
right.
in all kinds of odd little cartoons and corners. Yeah, especially with the older stuff before it became a trend and people would throw it in because even though they didn't understand it, like Star Trek did that, The Next Generation. It was like every time they only had so much time left, it was, we only have 23 minutes left, sir. We only have 23 seconds left. 23, 23, 20. They had no idea where 23 came from. But back in the 70s or 80s, if you saw a 23 reference, you knew. That cat knew
yeah.
what was going on. You know, my buddies, I used to have these deadhead roommates, and this one buddy of mine, he was always, must have been late 80s, no, probably early 90s. And he goes, it used to be if someone wore tie-dye, you knew they were cool. And now you meet people that wear tie-dye and they're not cool because by then they were selling like tie-dyes and like, you know, the shirt stores and stuff.
Mhm.
And he was so bummed that he could no longer recognize because everybody had tie-dyes now.
Yep. And they were selling them. They were selling them in storefronts when
You
they
never
used,
were able to buy a tie-dye
Yeah.
anywhere. You made it yourself, or maybe you got it from like a little neighborhood head store where
Yeah.
somebody was selling them. And if you saw someone in tie-dye, you knew they were cool, man. Got anything to smoke? This, that, you know? And
hippie chicks and freaking Volkswagen Rabbits.
I must have been having like a fever stroke. I missed the thing about the 23. So what did the 23 mean?
oh, that's an old Discordian thing. That's from, if you ever read the Illuminatus trilogy, it's all full of 23s, and it's part of the Law of Fives.
The what trilogy?
Yeah.
The Illuminatus trilogy by Robert Anton Wilson.
Ah,
That was like one of the most formative books of my youth.
Yeah.
so
And
does
then,
it have anything to do with the whole conspiracy? I think even Jim Carrey made a movie about it. Like 23 everywhere. He started
99%, yeah, 99% of a lot of the pop occultism that you see in the world around you today derives from that book, and that book comes from Robert Anton Wilson and Robert Shea, and they were Discordians, which were a late 50s, early 60s group of like kind of beat pothead weirdos that worshiped the goddess of chaos because they saw way too much order in society.
And see
So their
that.
slogan was Hail Eris, all hail Discordia. Eris being the goddess of chaos who threw the golden apple into the famous dinner party that started the Trojan War. And
Yeah.
so their motto is Callisti, which was inscribed on the apple. It is Greek for to the fairest one, or for the fairest. And the Illuminatus trilogy is, I assumed you'd read it, V, but you should go get that book out and read it. It's a little dated, so you could consider it a historical novel of the 1970s, but you'll see a lot of characters you recognize if you haven't read it already. And they explain 23, and 23 is related to the Law of Fives. But it basically, William S. Burroughs actually got the thing rolling on that. He started noticing a lot of synchronicities with 17 and 23, and a few other people picked it up and started noticing things. And you start looking through history. You know, Julius Caesar was stabbed 23 times. Things
So
like that.
Yes.
Yeah.
So this is sort of one of those, like, because I'm into the Gematria stuff. I'm into that sort of thing. It's the 23 had nothing specific that I thought should have been.
Crowley didn't think 23 meant anything. You know, if you look through Sefer Sephiroth, which if you're into that, you probably have a copy kicking around. I know I've got one somewhere. And, you know, you go through all the different attributions of the different numerals and like this, that, the other. And 23, I don't even know if he mentions it or not. Not very much. 5, he has not much to say at all. Pentad, you know, usual kind of stuff. But I have to look that up. But, you know, 23 kind of got overlooked, but it got picked up by the Discordians. Mm-hmm. And the Discordians led to the Subgenius religion, the Church of the Subgenius. Which I was actually active in for a short time. Attended XX Day. You can see me on the footage there if you dig through their archives, I'm sure. Gave some kind of a rant, as I recall. But, read the Illuminatus trilogy. You'll be glad to invest the time. I remember a buddy of mine was in jail, and I went to visit him, and I just brought him a copy of that. So, like, the local county jail has a copy of the Illuminatus trilogy kicking around. You know, he got out like months later. I said, how'd you like the book? He said, that was great. I left it there. And I'm like, good. That's a good influential book. One of the things it tells you is that the government is an illusion in the minds of the governors.
Well, see, that's a good topic. Yeah,
you know, these days, I'm sorry, but I was just saying, these days I'm entirely too busy physically. But if I can find the audio for that
I wouldn't be surprised if there's one out there.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised if there's one out there. But it is a book worth sitting down and reading, and it's sort of a combination murder mystery and something fell.
Yeah, because I read the Party Boys type of stuff when I was little. I thought they were so boring.
It's also like there's gangsters. There's a lot of porn in it, so that'll keep your interest up. There's all kinds of conspiracies.
Yeah, right. Don't lie, dude.
It's very tasteful and it's necessary for the advancement of the plot. Entirely.
I just piggyback off of our resident prostitute here.
Well, I'm just telling you, I know better. Like, don't even try to go there telling everybody, oh, I'm not into freaking porn. Well, you know, the thing...
I know Bonnie Blue. That's been an interesting topic as of late.
Well, we're talking about the third thing, dude. We're
third estate.
The third thing.
Your third sex that you want to try.
Now... The thing about Aleister Crowley that really tripped me out was whenever I freaking checked out what his incantation was when he spent the night in freaking the pyramids. Okay, me and oh my goodness, now I'm having a brain fart. Karma, we did a show on that. And the thing that really stood out to me was freaking he actually believed in Ian, okay? And a lot of people had
Ian Smith? He was a great man.
No, Ian, the deity. He's a...
I know.
You know, now a lot of people had turned around and they believed that a lot of the stuff that Aleister Crowley was involved in actually had to do with you know, Satanism and stuff of that nature. And the truth of the matter is he was really caught up in the whole sex magic thing because what was his name? He's the one that started Jet Propulsion's Lab, JPL.
Oh, Jack Parsons, yeah. Well, Parsons was
he was an
odd cat.
He was a student of Aleister Crowley, and
well, he also worked with L. Ron Hubbard.
Exactly.
But if you're interested in sex magic in the West, and I'm sure Crowley got certainly some information from there, you'd have to look at P.B. Randolph, Paschal Beverly Randolph. who was talking about heavenly bridegrooms and stuff. He was involved in teaching this sort of thing. I don't remember the name of his order. I haven't read any of this stuff in years. Brotherhood of Luxor, I think, something like that. And this was part of the occult current in the 19th and early 20th century in Europe at the time. You also had certain occult Templar societies that practiced sex magic, and that was what Crowley's OTO was. But the OTO was always seen, much as they may deny this today, I don't know, I don't keep up with their stuff, but it was basically Crowley's attempt to refashion Freemasonry in his own image. And he amalgamated a lot of ritual and worked it into a, basically an occult Templar sex rite. There are a lot of, for some reason, the Templar, it's the two men on the horse riding the horse. That's what got all those occultists thinking about them. So I personally just think that, you're taking off?
No, I said the beast with 3 backs.
Oh, with 3 backs. Yeah, there you go.
Mm-hmm.
I thought you said, yeah. So, personally, I think the Templars were just they were the globalists of their day. They were the international bankers. And, they had the revolt of the people that owed them money. The King of France was broke. How do I get out of this? Well, we used to do this with the Jews all the time. We just let them into the country, borrow a lot of money from them, and then just drive them out. So we can do it with the Templars now. It's basically the same playbook. You borrow a lot of money, and then you kill the guy that you borrow it from. Oh, kings are wonderful things.
Yep. And so Crowley, he also did a lot of drugs too with his sex magic. It was part of his rituals.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, he ended up going into a life of squalor. He wasted away every single thing he had, his entire fortune. He died with nothing.
Yep. He had 50 pounds in a tin box under his bed.
Yeah.
Well,
he had a shot of morphine every day to the day he died. So he was always fed. He was always warm. He always had drugs that he needed. He'd been addicted to that since 1904 or something like that, I guess, actually, I think they started him on heroin or something like that for his asthma. But very common back then. We'll get you off that terrible opium addiction. Look, a nice clean needle. It's called heroin, and it cures opium addiction. And it does, too. The amazing thing is it does work. The operation was a success, but the patient died.
Yeah, now, the one thing that gets me about all of that really trips me out is if you take and you look at Ayan, okay, and you go back and you look at all the people that worshipped him, especially in the classic era, you'll find out that pretty much all of the mystery religions and the mystery cults were involved in the worship of him, the Mithraic mysteries.
Right.
And I get annoyed too because they turn around and they say that there's some people who don't know the difference between Mithra and Mithras. Mithraism, the same Mithra that's worshipped in Rome isn't the same ones that was worshipped by the Scythians.
Well, Mithra needed to be summoned by 2 tiny princesses that would sing a song. And then he would flap his great moth wings. Oh no, Mothra! I'm sorry,
Mothra.
I was kidding. Oh, okay, all right, sorry. I was just.
Well, then you've heard of Dionysian mysteries, right? And the Orphic religion.
Oh yeah.
All of that has to do with Ayan.
Well, I think Crowley, a lot of his paganism, he was taking from late Greco-Roman manuscripts found at the British Museum, a lot of occult manuscripts and papyri from that period, which stress these later Gnostic, many of them Gnostic in flavor, kind of religious cults and ideas. A lot of the magical papyri and magical texts would incorporate, gods. Their line between magic and religion was much less defined than we tend to make it. I think one of the best definitions was James Fraser, who said, public magic is religion, private religion is magic. So these were private religious texts. You're asking this or that god to make you win the lottery or kill somebody or something like that. So he was drawing on, you know, a lot of ideas, Aeon, Abraxas, you know, ideas that and a lot of Hermetic ideas, which were very popular at the time.
Oh yeah.
So this is going to flavor, I think, a lot of his outlook. He was also, you know, I wrote an article about this. I'll see if I can dig it up. He was also very, very Christian. He was profoundly influenced by Christianity. A lot of his behavior was either to deliberately ape Christianity or to remake it in his own image.
Right.
He redefined the Holy Ghost. He redefined chastity. He redefined all these things. And he himself says, if you've read his autobiography or autohagiography, as he called it, he grew up in a very strict Plymouth Brethren. I'm sure Mark Edworthy, they've got still Plymouth Brethren, I think, in England, but I don't think we have any here. Very strict upbringing. His only reading material was the Bible, which he knew extensively, up, down, and sideways. A lot of his magical writings sound a lot like the King James Version coming out. That coffee prayer, Roger, that I sent you, that was by Aleister Crowley. If you remember that. Let me see if I can find the coffee prayer here, because it's a really good example of, here it is. So this is Aleister Crowley's prayer. O coffee, by the mighty name of power do I invoke thee, consecrating thee to the service of the magic of light. Let the pulsations of my heart be strong and regular and slow. Let my brain be wakeful and active in its supreme task of self-control, that my desired end may be effected through thy strength, Adonai, unto whom be the glory forever. Amen without lie, and amen of amen. Now that's somebody that was profoundly influenced by the authorized version of the Bible, in my opinion. You know, when even his magic spells felt like they were coming out of, like, you know, a biblical sort of an exhortation. It was a huge influence on him, but he had to remake it in his image. It had to be the solar phallic religion of Christianity, as he called it, the true Christianity that he would restore, and of course everyone else is a heretic, which is
it's the cycle
the best
of
approach to
abuse,
take.
man. It's the cycle of abuse. Religion what's put onto a person forcefully, and weird things happen. I mean, we all know about Ed Gein, right? Wisconsin's first serial killer, I believe.
Yeah.
Ed Gein.
But he really got under people's skin.
Well, yeah, he did indeed. His mother basically beat him over the head with a freaking Bible. So yeah, you definitely get these people who come out to be very unique.
Well, you know, with Crowley, I think
part of
it was he really loved and respected his father, who was, you know, a very devout person, but at the same time, he wanted to be in complete rebellion. So this way, he got to be a good Christian, but it was a Christian that would also horrify most people that consider, especially back then. You know, I mean, he was the wickedest man in the world, but when you read about what he was actually doing, all right, there was some coke, there was some, you know, bisexuality, there was, like, you know, weird religions. I mean, nobody would even blink at that in California today. And in fact, to the Victorians, the worst part was probably the religions. You know, he experimented with Buddhism for a while and his paganism and stuff like that. The other things were like, well, you know, less shocking in some ways, but no, he was very complicated guy. He always wanted to make things true. He read the Arabian Nights. You know, I mean, he got into the Goetic magic, and Goetia is, for the most part, just nonsense. In my personal opinion, 99% of what was written was just things to, like, the gullible public. But Crowley looked at it, he said, I'm going to make all this true, and he found ways to interpret it spiritually, intellectually. The same somersaults that, like, you know, someone in the College of Cardinals will go through to, like, you know, justify transubstantiation or something like that, just so that he could justify, you know, the black pullet, or whatever the latest grimoire is, or the whatever, the Glockenspiel's mirror, or this or that. He had this real urge to make it so, make it true. I don't know.
And in contrast, you got this guy. he was like, there's a doctor who was also a student of a wizard or an occultist, and he made up this sort of his teacher would make up these fake grimoires, and but he served as a lawyer to the ladies in Salem, the first witch trials.
Right.
He was defending them, saying magic does not exist.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, he pointed out by using a fake grimoire.
Yeah.
So
Well, I would also like to point out that freaking Aeon, okay, is related to a deity called Thesis, or Thesis. Okay, that's actually his father, I believe. And if you dig deeper into all of that today, that all goes right back to what we were talking about with physics and with math and geometry and everything. You know what I mean? So, like when you take a look at the use of Aeon, the deity, in these rituals and stuff like that, they're not in reality freaking doing rituals to Satan. Maybe they are, because Satan was actually supposed to be kind of like what Prometheus was to the Greeks. You know what I mean? He's the one. Him and the fallen angels were the ones who illuminated the humans and taught them, or seduced them into eating of the tree of knowledge. You know,
Right.
they could have stayed ignorant and ate from the tree of life, but they had to stay ignorant. Because they ate from the tree of life, they gained knowledge, so therefore they fell into a life of sin. So, and a lot of people like to ignore this fact, but the truth of the matter is religion wants you to stay ignorant. They don't want you to be educated and knowledgeable when it comes to that.
that's what you have to have faith. You can't know. You have to have faith.
You know, you have to run off of faith.
Blind.
Blind faith. Yeah. And that is a sad truth. I mean, that's the way it was built up. And like when you overthink it, you can say to yourself, yeah, this is set up to where it can control populations, because that's the way it is. But there's a lot more into it, because I've found a lot of spiritual principles in religion too. You know, like
That's
Well,
what-
there's the structure, like we were talking about before. There's the structure that is perpetuating itself, and the power structure that perpetuates itself, and it's usually integrated with government. That's
Well,
different from the spiritual journey.
right.
Well, that's why it got stomped out. That's why, Gnosticism got stomped out there for so long. I mean, the narrative for Gnosticism is that God is not without, God is within. And basically, knowledge is salvation. That's the exact opposite of what the Catholic Church wanted. God's without, and you have to be a slave to him through blind faith. You can't know anything, but knowledge is power, as we know.
I think Mark's ready to freaking say something. He looks like he's getting excited over there.
No, I keep cutting him off.
Yeah.
Say
That's all
something,
I can
man.
say.
Say something. What's your thoughts on this? What's your feedback?
I think I've just gone brain dead.
He just woke up. Come on, give the guy a break.
Yeah.
He had 5 cups of coffee, you know.
Oh. Yeah, I'm just going to just sit here and nod politely.
There you go. The caffeine will kick in eventually.
Well, I just all I was saying was, like, when it comes to Aleister Crowley, I also match this up to, and don't get me wrong, I think he did commit the murders, but what's his name, Charles Manson. That's another one that's strange. The ranch that he was living on and he was preaching to his followers on was also a cult site that had a cave in on the property that people considered to be cursed. and he would go down into that cave and he would meditate in there and come out with all these crazy freaking ideas. That's how he came up with Helter Skelter, on that property, on that ranch. You know what I mean? And then you look at you look at Jet Propulsion's lab. Okay, this wasn't like this wasn't a freaking shade tree mechanics setup. You know what I mean? This was a freaking professional, freaking organized, freaking business that was working with freaking the space program and sending rockets up. You know what I mean? These were intellectual people, and they were all connected to Aleister Crowley, as well as freaking Scientology. What's his name again?
Hubbard there, L. Ron Hubbard.
L. Ron Hubbard. You know.
Yeah, he was a case study. You know what, gentlemen? It's after 1 o'clock, and
That is true.
I'm nothing anyone said, but I think I gotta bail out here. I gotta get up in the morning.
Before you go, do you think you can tell everybody your socials, that way they can find you if they want to reach out to you and talk to you?
Why, certainly you can find me on minds.com, AutoX. I also have a presence on YouTube. We've got Navakavada Buddhism there. And of course, check out navakavada.org. That's Navakavada. It's spelled just like it sounds. Navakavada.org.
All right. And how about you, V? You want to give your socials?
If anybody wants to reach me, they know how to get to me.
Right, they can contact they can contact me at Hubs.
There you go.
No, you can contact me at Teams at Rogers Hangout, as well as Roger_Hansen on minds.com, and on Discord you can find me at the Wonderful World of Awareness, as well as Gaming with Infamous. And with that, I'm just going to see what Mark says. How can people find you, Mark?
I'm going to keep it simple as usual and to stick with one site, minds.com, and the username Midworthy.
Okay. If you guys enjoyed this show, please like, subscribe, share, make comments. We appreciate your feedback, and I want to thank everybody for showing up tonight. This was an excellent show. And hopefully we can do another show like this later on, get into some more conversations of this nature. So with that, I'm going to end the show, and I will talk to you guys later.